Well, 32 of college football's biggest stars will officially enter the pros today. The NFL draft kicks off tonight with the first round of selections. The Jacksonville Jaguars hold the first overall pick. Tonight's event will be held in Cleveland, Ohio, as the league returns to an in-person draft for the first time since 2019. It was all virtual last year due to the pandemic. To break down what to expect tonight, let's bring in CBS Sports analyst Scott Pioli. He's a former NFL general manager and five-time executive of the year, and he's joining us on the phone. And I should say the event, I think, is sort of a hybrid. There's some people there in person and some of it will be virtual. But Scott, thanks for joining us. Many analysts are predicting Clemson quarterback Trevor Lawrence will go first overall to the Jaguars. What happens after that, though?
Well, good morning, Anne-Marie and Vlad. I think what's going to happen after that, it's going to be a mad scramble at the top for a couple of quarterbacks. It sounds like that's what everyone wants to do at the very top in the first three picks, that's for sure. And then things will start to get a little bit off script, I think, at number 4. So the big thing is going to be there's a scramble for quarterbacks, and it's out there that there may be quarterbacks taken at the first 4 picks. That will be determined as we get closer to it. But what's going to happen with this is the fact that so many people are chasing quarterbacks. There's other players at other positions that are going to be top players in the NFL that are actually dropping to a number at number 5, 6, and 7, where there's going to be high-quality players at other positions available for those teams to get.
So you mentioned this QB class, which is rich with talent, and analysts, as you say, are predicting at least 5 will be taken tonight in the first round. I mean, this is interesting to me, Scott, because this sort of goes back to, like, I can't remember the year, so I'm stretching my memory a bit here, but that one year when a bunch of quarterbacks got taken, maybe it was the year Dan Marino was drafted.
83, yeah.
Right, okay, there you go. So I was 14. 83, that class, where I think the first 6 picks, the first 6 picks in the NFL were quarterbacks, and you had a couple of NFL Hall of Famers in that class, like Marino, and then you had 1 or 2 that didn't do so well.
Vlad, every year, quarterback is the position talked about so much, and we've almost created this myth that you can only get a great quarterback at the very top, so you better, smoke him if you got him, get in there quick and get him. But the reality is, the quarterbacks that are successful, there is no formula. There is no direct path as to how quarterbacks are picked and how they succeed with their teams. For instance, what happens often is the number 1 pick or the number 2 pick or the number 3 pick generally goes to a team that is in poor shape. So they have a very talented quarterback that either has the tools, the skills, the ability, the makeup to be very successful in the NFL. However, what happens, they go to a bad team or a team that can't get out of its own way, and those players never get a chance to succeed. You look at a player like Andrew Luck, who was everybody's number 1 pick in the entire draft. Anyone who was at number 1 was going to take Andrew Luck. He got himself to a team where they couldn't keep him upright, and he didn't get the chance to fully develop into the player that he could be because he was injured so often. And that's the other thing that will happen to quarterbacks. If they don't end up in the right circumstance, in the right situation, with the appropriate coaching around them and the appropriate teammates, this is the ultimate team game. You need a great quarterback to be consistently good, but you also have to surround that quarterback, again, with additional talent, a good defense, and a really good coaching staff, Vlad.
Well, to that point then, what about some of the other positions? What are the other first-round talents that have impressed you the most?
I tell you, there's a couple of guys. One of my favorite players in this draft is a tight end out of Florida, Kyle Pitts. I mean, he is the new wave of tight end, where he is not we all see the tight end position as a guy that lines up right next to the tackle. Kyle Pitts can do that, but he can also split out at one of the other receiver positions. Something else about Kyle Pitts is he is so smart. Their head coach, Dan Mullen, moved him around to multiple positions. So not only did he know the wide tight end position, which is right on the line of scrimmage, but he knew the split tight end positions. He also knew all of the wide receiver positions and the routes from those positions. So he could create mismatches against defensive backs and or linebackers based on his alignment or how they move him. He's going to be a terrific player to watch. Another one of my favorite players in this draft is defensive lineman out of Michigan, Kwity Paye. His background story is just it's an amazing story. I won't get into too much of it, but if you have a chance, please Google this young man's story online. And he and his mother and his siblings came over from I believe it was Liberia, and he lived in the projects in Rhode Island, in Providence, Rhode Island, and ended up scholarshiping to a high school and then on to Michigan. His story of what he's overcome and what his family's overcome in their life. Now, it's not just a good story. This kid is a dynamic player. He's one of the top pass rushers, and he's also a hybrid player that coaches with good imaginations can use him at multiple positions at defensive end, but maybe move him inside as what we call a 3 technique, the guy who lines up on the outside shoulder of the guard in order to create a mismatch and be one heck of a pass rusher. So those are the 2 guys that I can't wait to watch moving forward in the NFL.
So you've got decades of experience in the front office as a team general manager and vice president. What was draft day like for you when you and your team were making the selections? Just take us into those rooms where all those deals are happening.
Vlad, it's interesting because a lot of other people on the outside see it as this festive thing and this big party, but the leadership groups that I was a part of, we were very similar in the sense that we're calm people. We like to be, thoughtful, and we try to eliminate distractions. So we were a calm draft room that had very limited people in there because, again, you're making multi-million-dollar decisions in there, and by the time that you're done, the amount of money that you've put into one draft cycle and then you're getting ready to spend on players, you're talking to, up close to over $100 million. And in order to make those decisions, there needs to be thoughtfulness. There needs to be peace and quiet. And I remember the mornings of those drafts, I always tried to find a way to be calm, to be still, put myself in a situation, make a couple of phone calls, but not too many calls to find out what we might hear is going on, what other teams might be doing, what they may want to do in order to maybe find an opportunity to make a trade. But to me, it was always about eliminating distractions and remaining calm.
Man, you painted quite a picture there, Scott. Nothing like what I expected it to be. I expected slamming down phones and sort of yelling and hair pulling and that sort of thing.
Very Jerry
Nothing
Maguire.
like that.
Very Jerry
Well,
Maguire.
I could never do that.
Well, he described it like it was. First, you start with a yoga session, and then you make very reasonable decisions.
Well, I couldn't do the hair pulling. That's what happened to me early in my career, so I decided to get away from it. Vlad and I shared the same hairstyle, so I couldn't actually get too crazy.
Well, now, of course, the number, the money we're talking about, I guess, you're making basically the same types of decisions that Tim Cook and Mark Zuckerberg have to make every day when we're talking about the kind of money that's being spent. It's nothing like we were just joking about the class of '83. I mean, we're light years away from those days, right, Scott?
Vlad, this is the thing. You hit the nail on the head. This is like any other business and any other industry. And you hire people. What this is like the HR department at an organization is getting ready to hire some of the most important employees, and you have to get people with the skills and the tools that match your corporate vision and what you're trying to do, but they also have to have the makeup and the personal identity in terms of the things that you believe in and how you want your organization to represent itself publicly and do its business publicly. So you're exactly right. It's just on a much bigger stage as we see with these photos, but this is the biggest part of the hiring process.
Yeah.
Fascinating stuff, Scott. Scott Pioli, thank you very much.
Thanks, Emery. Thanks, Vlad. So good to be back with you. Next time I'll hit it on video, I promise.
All right. Looking forward to it.